This is my basic park. A lot of you have seen the YouTube series on it. And this is the Sandstorm single rail coaster I built in this park. It was the fourth actually, that I built in this park, and to be honest, it's the worst coaster I built in this park. This ride has, well, looking back on it, quite a few flaws. The biggest ones, of course, being this ending. I still don't know why there's water there. I don't think I placed water there. And this 0G, oh, look at me go. This 0G roll or stall that goes over the path and has the weirdest shaping and absolutely zero heart line. So when I was looking back at this park again, I was rewatching the series and I watched the video on this and I was like, wow, this ride was bad. So what I'm going to do today is be fixing it. I'm going to redo the entire layout and probably redo a bit of the decoration too. And I'm going to be doing that here in the back of one of my roller coaster testing parks. I use the ride design save to copy the ride over from my basic park into this park, and I recreated some of the surrounding area, not in much detail. I mean, you can see how empty and even more ruined than this already looked that this is. But what I'm going to be doing, obviously, is closing Bad Storm. And first, I'm just going to completely remove the station. I already have a few things that I know I want to fix in this ride. One of them is I'm just going to update it to the newer single rail model, because why not? So I guess maybe before I actually get into building, I should sort of give an overview of what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this double or unload station and just have the unload be on the other side of the station. Probably make the pre-drop a little more interesting. I'm going to definitely tweak these underground sections. This is all going to go, and this element's going to be completely reshaped. I might even tweak how I have this launched free fall. I'm not quite sure yet. First, I think I want to move this ride up another block. I think it'll be a little nicer of a pre-lift if I have a little more speed. So I'm going to place this in right here and build out the station. And then, of course, using the advanced editor. Wow, I hadn't realized how much smaller the new track is compared to the old one. And so I'm just going to bring this turn around and bring it to the chain lift like I had on the old ride. Snap that to grid, and actually I should probably reset the roll on that. Might be a little weird, I can always tweak it later. And then we're going to go up into the lift. And I think I'm just going to have this drop line up slightly differently than on the old ride, simply because it's going to be a little bit easier for me to build that way. That looks atrocious. It's probably fine. I think if I build a piece here, I can fix that with the auto connection. We're going to make a pre-lift like this and then bring it down. And this time it's going to have an actually properly shaped drop, I think. Might even go beyond vertical, seeing as this drop is such a long straight section that really doesn't need to be like that. Looking at the old layout, I had this dive loop here, which I quite like because it was inspired, of course, by Railblazer's dive loop. But I don't think I have space to fit one in. I have the red lines as the boundary of the space I would have had in the basic park. And if I want this to, be smooth, make sense, then I'm not going to have space for it. So instead, I think what I'm going to do is dig a trench like the old one had, but is going to have an airtime hill down into the trench and then do an Immelman out. I'm also going to go ahead and paint the ride now. I'm going to make the new coaster the same color as the old one, and then I'm going to make the old color a red so it's easier to tell that it's the old one and I should ignore it. Then I'm going to go and start to build this into the pit here. Might be a little difficult. I should be able to make this fit. Just barely within the space that I have. That looks fine. going to add in a little bit of pivot offset, which I forgot to do earlier, but it shouldn't matter too much. I didn't really have turns. And then I'm going to start to roll this out of the immelmann, bring this down. And I think after this element, I should probably start going into a time lapse of building the rest of the coaster. And the roller coaster is finally complete. That took about an hour to build, And I did end up going back and changing the first couple of elements, as well as having to smooth out a bunch of stuff. I tried to follow the existing track layout pretty closely. Obviously the biggest change was this area down here right for the end, and the section over here that I replaced with a Cobra roll. I'm going to delete the old sandstorm, and this area looks so much cleaner with only a single track in it, and it also looks pretty empty. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is starting to fill in a little bit more of the terrain. First step, I think, is going to be, I'm going to rename this sandstorm, and then I'm going to build the station. So let's get this old station out of here. So just like that, the old station wall is almost gone. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is start by just filling in some of the paths here. And then for the queue line, I'm going to have something pretty similar. It's going to start up here, wind back around, and then I'm going to have it go down and connect up right here. Now I just need to go in, fill in some of the fences around here, and build up the structure a little bit more, which is sort of boring. And just like that, the station building or platform is done. I'm gonna keep it pretty simple, same style as the rest of the basic park pretty much, but just a little bit nicer, a little bit higher up, and doesn't take up quite as much space. So now what I'm going to move on and do is a little bit of terrain. Obviously I've got all these huge holes in the terrain that I should fill in that aren't being used anymore, but then there are some other spots that I'm going to need to dig out a little bit. And actually what I think I want to do for this trench specifically is probably just give it more of a slope. It's not going to look the greatest thing I've ever built, to be honest, but I think that having this slope will make it look a little bit nicer and feel like there's a little bit more space in here than there was previously. Although that support is just floating in the air. That looks awkward. Okay, the trench looks pretty decent aside from maybe this area over here, but I'm going to be honest, I don't really have the patience to make this look perfect. It's certainly better than it was 2 seconds ago. Now I'm going to also go ahead and dig out this area, but I wanted to add some sort of little water oasis type feature over here. So I'm going to do that. And now if I just place water in right here, I think that looks pretty decent. Having the two helixes come around the water seems like a cool idea. I also need to work on this trench. So what I decided to do here was make the trench a little bit bigger and then use some of the walls that I've had on the other trenches. But this one I decided to include some frames as well to sort of support the, the idea is that this was crumbling sort of in the same way that this tower over here was. And it's being supported by some sort of archaeology, or I forgot to paint these. Some sort of archaeologist group or something along those lines. And then over here I did sort of tweak how this area would work since I kind of made the ride go through this wall. I'm going to move this ride over and build the walls in a slightly different spot as well. And I think I've finished moving this over. That took quite a while. But as you can see now, the train is actually going to not smash its face into any of these pillars. I think honestly the last thing I need to do here is just fill in a couple more areas with some plants like the cacti that I spammed around everywhere, and maybe a couple more little tiny hills. So I'm going to do that, and then I think the ride will be done. So I've also just realized that I had built this food court over here, and these are outdated stalls, so I'm replacing all the old ones and replacing the Santa hat stall with a dino hat, because I don't know why I thought putting a snowy themed hat in a desert area was a good idea. And I think the ride is finally done, as well as the area. I didn't change the decoration of the area very much since, of course, the main focus was the roller coaster. So I guess with that said, I should probably get into the before and after comparison of the POV. After having seen both the before and after of this ride, this new version is definitely a lot better. I think I did a good job improving the pacing on this and patching up the weirdest elements. It took me only about an hour and 40 minutes to finish, 1 hour for the coaster layout and another 40 to decorate, since the decoration was not the most complicated thing in the world, but hey, it fits my basic part. It's about what I had before, so can't be too upset about that. And yeah, I think that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe or whatever you want to do. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. I hate doing outros.